Alright guys, so this example game we are going to take a look at, it's going to just basically feature the blood-crazed neonate. I guess forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, that's how I always say it. Now this is another game where the replay did not save. If you caught my other videos, you will know that I'm having some connection issues, so this will be interesting. Can't stop recording and re-record since it's going to be disappearing shortly. But anyways, all that aside, this is the opening hand for this game. Gonna keep it 2 lands in hand, both of different color. Fantastic. We got an Explorer. Gives us opportunity for a little card draw, maybe a little mana ramp if we get lucky. We have turn 2 play as well. We're going to be able to play the Blood Crazed Neonate, our cute little vampire there. Turn 3 we got a boar, we got the Rocks Brute. Things are looking pretty good just this opening hand. So, my opponent does start off with a turn 1 Executioner's Capsule. Now this is an interesting play. I do think a card like this is pretty cool. You run a deck that is artifact focused. It's basically a terror that gives you, 1 extra artifact for affinity or metalcraft, however you so desire. And now we get a pretty cool top deck here. I do top deck into Tin Street Hooligan. My second land is a forest, so as you see here, I'm going to be able to play the Tin Street Hooligan, and kill off this Executioner's Capsule before he can use it. That's just pretty lucky play on my part. There's only 2 in the deck, and it's good to have that kind of thing happen every now and then. So we won't get the neonate out quite yet. I do like, if you caught my other videos, which I hope you do check those out, I've said many times I like to get this guy in play as soon as possible. Because he has that 1 toughness, you are going to take probably 2 or 3 hits before he is a big enough toughness to kind of do anything worthwhile. After 3 hits, he's going to be a 4/3 creature, and he does have to get through to your opponent to do that. And then he's doing pretty good. He can still die to things like Lightning Bolt and whatnot, but that's about when he gets online. So you really do need like 2 turns before that can happen, or some kind of pump to just make sure it works. So I like to get it out as soon as possible, but I just could not pass up an opportunity to play this Hooligan immediately and get rid of the Executioner's Capsule. Had I not done that, had I started with this Neonate, I wouldn't be sitting pretty good, because he would have gotten his second land. He would have been able to use the Executioner's Capsule on it. Even if the situation came down where that was in play and he had the 2 land open, the Hooligan does his ability does hit the stack. So in response to my trying to kill this, he could in turn sacrifice this. Just something to be aware of, that the Hooligan does hit the stack, and you saw that a little bit ago. So anyways, he plays a Viridian Longbow, and this is an interesting play. Usually when I see this, you run into a deck that is running, stuff like Trinket Mage to find this, and that little black rat. There is a black rat that came out in one of the recent sets that has Death Touch, and I believe it's just a single black for the mana cost, and it's a 1/1. So you will see that in combination with the Longbow, so they can, tap the creature and do 1 damage and kill anything. Pretty nice combo. Definitely a casual thing you see a lot, but not too worried about it right now because he does not have that rat in play, so it's not going to be too big a deal. So we're going to attack first before making our play. You see we did not hit our 3rd land, but we do have the opportunity to get a Colossal Might later on. We could explore now to try and get that land, but again, I want to get this Neonate in play as fast as possible. So he can start doing some look at her, yep. So she can start doing damage as fast as possible and get bigger and badder. And the Colossal Might will be really great for helping us out on that. If he does have an opportunity to block this, we can play the Might and pump it up just enough that it has trample, it can get over whatever he's throwing at it, and do the damage. So the Neonate has to attack. We're going to swing with the Hooligan as well, and my opponent will in turn play Echoing Decay, targeting the vampire. So what I'm going to do, I'm not only going to be able to save the vampire, but I'm going to be able to do extra damage to my opponent as well. I will be able to play a Colossal Might targeting the vampire in response to the Echoing Decay, which will put it out of range. It turns it into a 6/3 trampling vampire that will do damage to my opponent and get a +1/+1 counter. That's a pretty badass vampire if you ask me, so sometimes getting stuck with 2 mana in this deck is not terrible. It does happen on occasion, but this is a pretty good example of how it can still hold up to that. So he gets that goes through now. It brings it down to a 4/1 creature. My opponent will take 6, and the Neonate gets a +1/+1 counter. So you see he's starting to get to, he's a 3/2 now, and he's starting to get to that range where he's much more powerful and can really swing through for way more damage. And my opponent now plays Trinket Mage. You see that's what I talked about a lot of times. Decks like these you see in the casual room will fetch up the longbow with that Trinket Mage, so they can get that rat combination going. But he does also, he does have a nice combination. I didn't realize this at first, but he can search up the Executioner's Capsule with that as well. And I had just expected him to put that into play at this turn, but he doesn't, and it's not good, it's not bad. I always figured use your mana while you have it. Why leave this one black available when you could simply just put that extra play in hand? So I'm going to attack with both. I'm assuming at this point he's going to block with the Trinket Mage to the Vampire. You feel he kind of has to, and if he does, I have Colossal Might, and I can pump it to do damage and still get that counter. Bring my Vampire up to a 4/3 creature. And you swing with the Hooligan as well, assuming he's going to block this, you're still going to get the 2 damage through. If he doesn't, and on the odd chance decides to block the Hooligan, well, he's going to trade those creatures, so we're okay with that too. If we wanted to, even we could pump the Might into the Hooligan and get that through as well. But so we're going to do that. We leave the mana open, so you have this option. You see here he decides not to block, oddly enough. He is going to take the damage. This is, I think, a misplay on his part. You have to, even though you saw that I had the Colossal Might, you kind of have to block this creature. Just on the off chance that I do not have the Colossal Might and that I am bluffing with this 2 mana, you have to make that call. You have to say, okay, do it. Either you can beat me on this or you can't. By not blocking this, he has basically given up the game. He will not be able to later on chump block with the Trinket Mage to get this to win. Get it to kill this. Sorry. So we're going to get the counter on there. He's going to be a 4/3 creature, and now we can search out a land from the Terramorphic, and we can play an Explore, draw a card, hopefully get another land into play, and if not, no big deal. Now we're looking really great. We have the Apostle's Blessing, and while I know he's got the Executioner's Capsule in hand, usually I keep that little window open, and you see I did close that out accidentally, but so I have the Blessing in hand. I do have the option to protect my creatures from that capsule. Unfortunately, while it's only going to cost me 1 mana, I do not have an open land. So he's got enough land, he can play the capsule and kill a creature all on the same turn. He drops yet another land, he plays the Executioner's Capsule, and here's the misplay. He gets to my turn. Now, if he was smart, he should have used this on his turn while I was tapped out. I guess he was assuming that being in red and green, I did not have an option as far as giving one of these creatures protection or somehow getting around this capsule. So to him, it seemed like a natural thing to go, oh yeah, no big deal. This is definitely a bad play. There are some options in green. There's a couple pump spells that will give your creatures Shroud. That's just something you have to be aware of. Sure, the Blessing is kind of an odd choice for the deck, but really the right play is to just get this capsule into play, kill off the Blood-Crazed Vampire, Blood-Crazed Neonate, the Vampire, and just get it off the board. If he had done so, then he's not sitting in such a bad place. I still have great options in hand. I'm going to play the Mountain. Now I have the option I can use the Violent Outburst, and still have mana open for the Apostle's Blessing. We're going to do, if you check out my bonus video, you'll see I make a mistake and I play Violent Outburst before combat phase. Violent Outburst is an instant. Play it during your combat phase. It only makes sense. There's no real reason to do so out of combat. So we're going to attack and just see what happens here. This gives us, mana untapped. We have options. We can use the Outburst and still have mana open for the Blessing. We can play a Might if he decides to block. We just have, all the options available to us. No matter what the play is here, you definitely want to make sure you have the mana available for the Blessing, since he does have this capsule in play and is going to attempt at some point in time to kill probably the Vampire. So here he goes. He finally decides it's time to kill off the Vampire, but in response to that, I can play the Apostle's Blessing to save it. I take the 2 life, which is not a big deal, especially at the fact that I'm sitting at full 20, and I can use this to gave it protection from that. It would have survived. He would have had probably the only option to block the Hooligan, and then from there I could have used the Colossal Might to pump the Blood Crazed Neonate and win. Or, I could have played the Violent Outburst, but you really got to go for the win. So this will not give you the win. This will guarantee you the win. It was definitely game over. So that's, just something to keep in mind. If you have a deck using the capsule, stuff like this, just always look for the chance where your opponent is tapped out to make that kind of play.